Big story and secrets in the sky and our fight for privacy. As word comes, the FBI has been secretly flying over our homes right here in the valley with equipment designed to track phone calls and record video. ABC's Nick Van Sant is live in Deer Valley at the airport there in Phoenix. And Nick, what were those planes specifically looking for?
Well, you know, we asked FBI officials that, and they would not say exactly what they were looking for every time that they were flying over a valley city and how many times they flew. They also won't say, but we know that they operated this program out of this airport for years, each time using a plane that was capable of capturing data from thousands of people at a time. 2 days ago, this plane was spotted leaving Deer Valley Airport. According to the Associated Press, it's owned by the FBI and used for surveillance, just like this plane and this plane, both of which were also photographed at Deer Valley. Equipped with special cameras and antennae, the planes can record video and in some cases capture cell phone information. It's unclear how many surveillance flights happened in the valley or what officials were looking at, but we do know missions were flown over Glendale, Mesa, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe, and Maricopa.
When the FBI or any other law enforcement agency has planes circling overhead, and conducting surveillance in a way that, where we don't know what's happening, that can really have a chilling effect.
Especially since the AP says some planes are capable of collecting information on thousands of people at once.
There's always a problem with the bulk collection of information.
Aviation and terrorism experts, though, support the program, saying it's now become necessary.
They're only going to use it in probably the most extreme cases that are necessary to track down hardened criminals. It's saving lives, it's saving property, and it's keeping the general public safe as a whole.
Now, we just got a statement from the local FBI office. They say that this is a completely legal program, that they operated under all investigative guidelines. A lot of critics have asked questions about, well, why did they then register these planes under dummy corporations? In this statement, what the FBI says is that they did this because of security concerns. Katie?
All right, thank you, Nick.
Associated Press did a report on the FBI using planes, small planes throughout the country, to spy in on us. Interesting. Now, they claim, of course, that they're spying in on the bad guys. Well, when we get into the details of the story, you'll see that's not entirely true. First of all, how broad was it? In a recent 30-day period, the agency flew above more than 30 cities in 11 states across the country, an Associated Press review found. Details confirmed by the FBI track closely with published reports since at least 2003 that a government surveillance program might be behind suspicious-looking planes slowly circling neighborhoods. The AP traced at least 50 aircraft back to the FBI and identified more than 100 flights since late April orbiting both major cities and rural areas. So let's pause there to understand that this is just tracking in 1 month. They tracked in April. So it's not like, oh, wow, they did 100 flights over the last year or they did 100 flights over the last decade. No, that was just the ones the Associated Press was able to track in 1 month. Okay, to give you a sense of it. Okay. Now, they explain here, Christopher Allen, FBI spokesperson, says, no, it's okay. FBI planes are not equipped, designed, or used for bulk collection activities or mass surveillance, so don't worry about it.
I trust him because he's a spokesman for the FBI.
Yeah, so he must be telling the truth. Associated Press continues, but the planes can capture video of unrelated criminal activity on the ground that could be handed over for prosecutions. Here's when the usual right-wing guys jump in and go, if you're not doing anything wrong, man, it shouldn't be a problem. What are you doing in your backyard? And the plane can see into your property, right? Are you sure you've got the right permits for the guns you're firing? If you're in the woods, you're in your backyard. I don't know how big your backyard is. I don't know if you live in a rural state.
Apparently they go to rural areas.
Yeah. Are you naked in your backyard? What are you doing in your skinny dipping? Is everybody 100% kosher? Is somebody under the age of 21 drinking a beer in your backyard? Hey, if you're not doing anything wrong, you wouldn't mind the FBI looking into everybody's backyards. And if they happen to see criminal activity, well, what are they going to do? No, they'd never target political opponents or anything like that, except for all the times that they did, like the Quakers and the peace movement and all those guys. Quakers are very dangerous.
Yeah.
All right, so some of the aircraft can also be equipped with technology that can identify thousands of people below through the cell phones they carry, even if they're not making a call or in public.
Yeah, so they basically pretend to be cell phone satellite towers that can then fool your cell phone into divulging information about you and your location. And they can do this literally to thousands of people simultaneously. Like, I'm worried that people are going to maybe see a thumbnail or hear a headline and think, oh, it's some plane that's up there and it's some guy with a camera poking out of it. No, they can go, they're a mile up in the air gathering data on everything below them, literally thousands or tens of thousands of people at the same time, capturing incredibly high resolution video that they can then zoom in on and get additional information from. This is bulk surveillance. If what would it need to be if this doesn't qualify? Literally, they take a picture of the entire planet simultaneously? No, they're gathering data on thousands of people.
So let's understand something. You know, this is, again, when people flip out and go, wait a minute now, we need the FBI to be able to track the bad guys. Well, of course we do. So I want to be absolutely clear. You got a warrant, you figured out, oh my God, this guy's intended to do harm. Whatever it might be terrorism, it might not. A guy's planning to commit a murder, we contracted out, we got data on it, we some sort of information. Of course, law enforcement needs the tools to be able to do that. Look, I briefly worked in prosecution here in the U.S., real briefly as summer interns, but I thought about doing that for my life's work. Of course, you got to be able to track the bad guys, of course, right? But that's why the Constitution says you need a warrant. Hey, that's the guy I'm tracking, and here's one, and you go to a judge and he gives it to you, right? This is, well, let me see where that guy is hanging out by tracking his cell phone, right? Whether he's making a call or not, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
Let me take pictures of all these areas and see what I come up with.
Yeah.
No, wait a minute.
It's mining. It's data mining.
Yeah, that's unconstitutional. You can't do that.
Yeah, nobody, if they said, okay, we want to put a plane up there and we're going to fly over this particular place and we're going to take photos of this backyard, nobody's going to say no to that. We think you should be able to do that.
Yeah,
but you're telling me that this is part of a specific investigation when a plane circles all of L.A., just constant over L.A., a mile above. You think they're investigating a crime? No, they're trying to gather all of the data that they can.
All right, so let me give you more details on this, but it's super obvious. If you say to us, hey, they got Don Corleone in the backyard, they'd like to, and we have a warrant, go for it. They got a terrorist. They got a right-wing militia guy who threatened to kill the Secretary of State. Yes, by all means, get a warrant and investigate. That's not what this is. Or if it is, it's certainly broader than that, right? So, Associated Press with more details. Evolving technology can record higher quality video from long distances, even at night.
Ooh.
So you think they can't see you at night, you're wrong. They can see you at night as well.
Yeah, so throw pants on when you go in your backyard.
That's right. The FBI does not generally obtain warrants, to record video from its planes of people moving outside in the open, but it also said that under a new policy, it has recently begun obtaining court orders to use cell site simulators. So let's break that down in a couple of ways. So number one, so they don't have warrants. Okay, they don't have warrants, thereby, when they collect all that information, making it unconstitutional. Okay, number two, it adopted a new policy of getting a warrant when it's doing the cell phone trick, right?
Yeah.
A month ago. Meaning they weren't doing that for all this time. And by the way, the Associated Press, when they do these kind of stories, oftentimes they let the authorities know, hey,
that's why they did it.
Yeah, we're doing this investigation. We're giving you a heads up, right? Yeah. Finally, Justice Department memo last month also expressly barred its component law enforcement agencies from using unmanned drones solely for the purpose of monitoring activities protected by the First Amendment, and said they are to be used only in connection with authorized investigations and activities.
Awesome. Good. Good.
Yeah.
Protecting the rights of the American people. I like that.
A memo sent last month. So before last month, they were looking into things that were protected under the First Amendment, political activities. Okay, and finally, if you thought, well, okay, good. Well, we got some reform last month, and perhaps journalism doing good work there, putting them in the spotlight.
Yes.
They don't like, all of a sudden, they don't like being seen, right, what they're doing, and they begin to reform. Don't get too excited. A department spokeswoman said the policy applied only to unmanned aircraft systems rather than piloted airplanes. So,
like in all of these cases over the last 12 years.
So, okay, if we've got a drone, we can't look into your First Amendment rights and spy in on you without a warrant. But if there's a pilot on the plane, well, obviously the Constitution doesn't apply.
Yeah. The amount I care about the difference between a drone and a man thing, it's so tiny, the only thing that can see it is one of the FBI's planes with its high-res cameras.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's a drone or it's a manned plane. You can't just gather data across an entire city. And if you're a right-winger who talks about, like, you know, we need our Second Amendment rights because the government is gone out of control, we need to be able to check it. And they've been talking for 25 years about black helicopters and secret, like, spying. Like, they're literally flying planes over cities across the United States. Look, I generally am a little bit more, I guess, forgiving for this sort of thing in much smaller scale activities. But this is like, if you want to have a conspiracy theory, this is the basis for a lot of awesome conspiracy theories. That they're just circling cities, just hoping to find something to use.
Yeah, that's such a great point by John. I mean, what are you going out to Jade Helm 15 and Hobbit Homes and Agenda 21 and all that nonsense for? We found your black helicopters. You were afraid of the government. This is the government. You were afraid that they would spy in on you. They're spying in on you. You were afraid that they might even look into your constitutionally protected rights and your First Amendment rights. That's what they're doing. It's right here. And most Republican politicians are like, fuck yeah,
gotta protect
right?
it.
One last thing, and I honestly didn't think about this until we were having this conversation. If they can track your cell phone, they know who you are because they're tracking your cell phone, right? So it's actually worse than the bulk data collection they're doing of the cell phones, because at that point they don't know whose cell phone it is, right? They're tracking it even if you're not using it, so they have targeted that cell phone, okay? Then they can take the video, so they can find out exactly where you are, right, and take video of you. If you got a warrant for that, great, because then you're trying to catch a bad guy that a judge has said is probably a bad guy. Go get evidence on him. If you're not a bad guy, why the fuck are they doing that to you?
Aerial surveillance by the FBI is nothing new, but we're learning more about the size and the scope of the program. So a review by the Associated Press published this week reported that the agency flew above more than 30 cities in 11 states over a 30-day period. And the report also said that planes were masked by the existence of at least 13 fictitious companies. Now, in response to that, the FBI released a statement saying that its unit is no secret and described the secrecy as protected for operational security purposes. So essentially they're saying this isn't a secret, but we don't publicize this either. Now, an official I spoke to, a law enforcement official, told me that the existence of the fleet of planes are registered under those fictitious companies because the FBI wants to be as discreet as possible. Essentially, it doesn't want people to put what they're doing, on their radar. They don't want to tip off the bad guys, the criminals that they're trying to monitor with these planes, that it's the FBI doing so. Now, these planes are equipped with electronic surveillance, and they're used for both FBI investigations and also at the request of state and local officials, such as during the Baltimore riots. You may remember we reported on the fact that the FBI used surveillance aircraft then at the request of Baltimore police. And just to point this out, the official I spoke with says that before this plane is used, it is signed off, but there's no court warrant for it, which I think for some raises a level of concern. I know the ACLU has some issues with this.
So no warrant. Who approves it then if there's no warrant?
So I'm told that it's approved at various levels within DOJ. So you have the Department of Justice, and then you have levels at the FBI, all the way to, it sometimes goes to the top, and there are the field offices as well that are involved with the approval process. But there are a certain number of restrictions and guidelines that must be followed that were set forth by DOJ. And the Inspector General at DOJ also looked at this program a few years ago and found that it was legal and constitutional. However, a lot of that report was redacted. So there are still some questions about it. John and Kate?
And as you point out, there are clearly some people who are crying foul when it comes to civil liberties, though. Is there any action being taken in that regard, though?
So we know that the ACLU has been pretty outspoken about these programs, and it's frankly not just the FBI, DEA, and other agencies have similar surveillance programs. And the real controversy here, if you want to call it that, is that sometimes these surveillance aircraft picks up personal information on people. It scoops it up as part of the investigation, and I'm told that information is discarded, but it's unclear how quickly it's discarded, and sometimes it's handed over to prosecutors to help with a case. It provides evidence. So there is certainly some controversy in that regard.
circling the skies across the country, the FBI is operating a small air force. The Associated Press has learned that the FBI has been using scores of low-flying airplanes with high-tech imaging devices, all registered to fictitious companies.
People for years, if going back more than a decade, have been concerned when they see these low-flying airplanes circling above their house, so much so that some people even call 911 and ask the police, who is this person circling above?
The AP traced at least 50 aircraft back to the FBI, including this single-engine Cessna spotted at a regional airport in Northern Virginia.
The key thing on that aircraft is that if you look on the left-hand side, there's like a white basketball-looking object. And what that is a camera, so when the plane makes 90-degree, or rather left-hand turns going around a certain area, the camera is off to the side recording as the aircraft is sweeping over a certain maybe 2-mile radius.
That same aircraft was seen over Baltimore last month. Public radar data collected by FlightRadar24.com shows it making tight circles around the western area of the city, where violent protests broke out following the death of Freddie Gray while in police custody. An AP analysis revealed in the past few weeks the FBI flew on more than 100 flights over 11 states. The FBI says its aviation program is not secret, telling the AP, quote, "The aircraft are not equipped, designed, or used for bulk collection activities or mass surveillance. The FBI uses all tools and equipment and conducts all investigations in accordance with the Attorney General guidelines." But the FBI has gone to great lengths to conceal its ownership of the planes. Records show they are registered to at least 13 fake companies. Included on most registrations, a mysterious name, Robert Lindley, who appears to have 3 distinct signatures. The FBI would not say whether Lindley is a U.S. government employee. In addition to being equipped with video surveillance technology, officials who spoke to the AP under the condition of anonymity said the planes are sometimes equipped with cell site simulators, which can capture information from cell phones.
This is all coming at a time when the government, and particularly President Obama, has said he encourages a debate on surveillance and privacy.
It's not clear exactly how the surveillance technology is being used or what the specific capabilities of each aircraft are, but the flights represent an evolving frontier for law enforcement. Robert Bumstead, Associated Press.
时间从来都是沉默不语，记录下我们的那些点点滴滴。既然爱你，就不再说什么委屈，就信了我会是你的唯一。思念是一张一张日历，写满了风风雨雨。你说你陪我和岁月一起老去，怎么又 get back， 怎么又 get back， 半途而废，转身退去，在梦里追寻你身影，连梦呓都是你姓名。我站在原地兜圈，傻傻等着你出现，怎么 say goodbye？ 多么害怕失去才会在意，是你左右我的情绪，究竟离你不远才是安全距离，才能放下你的背叛，不再无能为力。那么远又那么近，无法触碰的美丽 ，Just my pain, just my feeling。那么远又那么近，无法触碰的美丽。既然爱你，就不再做什么委屈，即使那不是你唯一，也没想过去插旗。Let you know, let you know, let you know。那么远又那么近，梦里追寻你身影，连梦呓都是你的姓名。Know what I mean？ 我站在原地兜圈，傻傻等着你出现，怎么 say goodbye？ 实在会在意，是你左右我的情绪，究竟离你多远才是安全距离，才能放下你的背叛，不再无能为力。那么远又那么近，无法触碰的美丽， This my pain, this my feeling。 沉入黑暗下也沉入海底，面对选择我逃避，究竟离你多远才是安全距离，才能躲开你的伤害，闯进我的回忆。那么远又那么近，无法触碰的美丽， This my pain, this my feeling。
我不会怪你对我的伪装，天使在人间是该藏好翅膀，人们愚蠢鲁莽，而你纤细善良，怎能想你为了我被绑上？小小的手掌，厚厚的温暖，你总能平复我不安的夜晚。不敢想的梦想，透过你的眼光，我才看见它原来在前方。没有谁能把你抢离我身旁，你是我的专属天使，为我能独占。没有谁能取代你在我心上，拥有一个专属天使，我哪里还需要别的愿望？小的手掌，大大的力量，我一定也会像你一样飞翔。你想去的地方，就是我的方向。有我保护，笑容尽管灿烂。没有谁能把你抢离我身旁，你是我的专属天使，为我能独占。没有谁能取代你在我心上，拥有一个专属天使，我哪里还需要别的愿望？要不是你出现，我一定还在沉睡，绝望的以为生命只有黑夜。没有谁能把你抢离我身旁，你是我的专属天使，为我能独占。没有谁 你在哪儿啊？还是老样子吗？脾气还是那么差？上班会迟到吗？饭有按时吃吗？是不是还那么晚回家？你在干嘛？会偶尔想想我吗？我只是想和你说说话。我最近过得还好啊，我这里飘起了雪花，可我找不到你，我好想你，我没有办法。我们也曾是对方唯一的希望，现在谁要代替我出场？我纵然你失望，也还日子漫长，我不奢望，只想看看你模样。你在干嘛？会偶尔想想我吗？我只是想和你说说话。我最近过得还好啊，我这里飘起了雪花，可我找不到你，我好想你，我没有办法。我们也曾是对方唯一的希望，现在谁要代替我出场？我纵然你失望，也还日子漫长，我不奢望，只想看看你模样。我不再是你生命那一束光，你会靠在另一个肩膀，就这样散了场，就算夜再漫长，别回头望，请忘了我模样，就这样散了场，就算人来人往，可那几年只有你为我鼓掌。你在哪儿啊？
还没有开口，你却在笑。